What if the Antichrist is already here, and we just don't recognize him? What if he's already laying the groundwork, subtly reshaping our society and the world, playing us like pawns in a grand game of cosmic chess? We've talked in depth about theories surrounding the Antichrist, the wealthy billionaire theory, the alien deception theory, and the political leader theory. Today, let's dive into some overlooked yet equally terrifying possibilities. But first, let's address a mistake people often make. Many think the rule of the Antichrist starts when he makes his grand entrance. Not true. The Bible warns us that his spirit, the essence of his evil, is already operating. So don't be fooled. You're already living in dangerous times. Does our generation look familiar to you? Because it should. It's an unholy mashup of the worst aspects of past civilizations. Think about Sodom and Gomorrah, Noah's Ark, and ancient Babylon. It's like someone took a blender to all the greatest hits of sin and poured it into our modern world. Sin is now a one-click affair, as easy to invite into your home as ordering pizza. Scared yet? Let's get back to the theories, shall we? Another theory is the religious leader theory. This concept claims the Antichrist will appear as a charismatic spiritual guru, uniting all religions under one banner. He won't just fool people with politics or military might, but with counterfeit miracles and signs. Imagine if the Antichrist was as spellbinding as your favorite preacher and as persuasive as your most trusted spiritual guide. The religious leader theory often relies on the concept that spirituality and religion have deep emotional and psychological connections for people, which makes it a fertile ground for manipulation by a charismatic figure like the Antichrist. The idea suggests that he will not necessarily present himself as a villain, but rather as a messenger of peace, unity, and spiritual enlightenment. His teachings might initially appear to promote goodwill and harmony among people of all religious backgrounds. The objective would be to build a universal spiritual movement that ostensibly seeks to unite humanity, but ultimately serves to consolidate his own power and divert worship to himself. One of the most insidious aspects of the religious leader theory is the notion of counterfeit miracles. Unlike mere tricks or illusions, these would be events that genuinely defy natural explanation but are still orchestrated by the Antichrist for deceptive purposes. In a world increasingly skeptical of traditional religious beliefs but fascinated by the supernatural and the paranormal, such miracles could serve as compelling evidence of his divine authority. This could be particularly seductive for people who have been disillusioned by conventional religious institutions and are seeking spiritual experiences that seem more authentic and immediate. Given the diversity of religious and spiritual beliefs around the world, the idea of uniting them under a single banner would require an individual with extraordinary rhetorical skill and personal magnetism. In this theory, the Antichrist would have to be versed in various religious texts, doctrines, and practices, using them to build bridges between communities that have historically been at odds. By appearing to reconcile age-old religious disputes, he could gain the trust and allegiance of multiple faith groups, facilitating his rise to global prominence. Interestingly, the religious leader theory often incorporates apocalyptic or end-time scenarios from multiple religious traditions, not just Christianity. The figure of the Antichrist is often viewed as analogous to negative eschatological figures in other religions. This inclusivity would lend credence to his claim to be a universal spiritual leader, and might be one of the mechanisms by which he gains a global following. However, the ultimate aim of this unification, according to the theory, is not harmonious coexistence, but rather the subjugation of all religious thought and practice to the will of the Antichrist. Once firmly in control, he would reveal his true nature and intentions, demanding unwavering loyalty and, effectively, worship. By then, dissent would not only be socially stigmatized, but potentially met with severe punishment, fulfilling the darkest interpretations of apocalyptic prophecy. Thus, the religious leader theory posits not just a political or military takeover, but a spiritual deception on a scale never before witnessed. Point being, The world is already a melting pot of the worst kinds of sins, and the Antichrist spirit is the chef stirring the pot. His spirit doesn't just inspire individual bad acts, it shapes cultures, turning societies into playgrounds of sin. If we're not vigilant, we'll find ourselves praising the very force that aims to destroy us. We also have to consider the apostate church leader theory. The Apostle Paul warned about a great apostasy, a mass departure from genuine faith. What if the Antichrist isn't outside the church, but inside it? With the internet exploding with self-proclaimed prophets and churches diluting core messages of the Bible, discernment has never been more critical. This isn't just about avoiding false teachings. It's about not becoming unwitting disciples of the very entity we stand against. The apostate church leader theory suggests that the Antichrist could rise from within an established religious organization, perhaps even one that is widely respected and followed. This individual might initially seem like a reformer or a revitalizer, someone who appears to be bringing new life and relevance to ancient teachings. The allure would lie in his seeming ability to modernize religious doctrine without ostensibly compromising its essence, making faith appear more accessible and appealing to a broader audience. His ascent to power would be facilitated by the very institution that should have been a bulwark against his influence. In this scenario, the Antichrist would be especially dangerous because he would be equipped with insider knowledge of scripture, theology, and religious practices. This would allow him to craft arguments and perform acts that would seem on the surface to be aligned with core religious principles. Yet subtly and progressively, he would lead followers away from foundational truths, bending doctrine to serve his own ends. With each step, the corruption would be wrapped in the language of enlightenment, renewal, or social justice, making it extremely difficult for average believers to identify the deceit. The most disturbing implication of the apostate church leader theory is that the very institutions tasked with spiritual guidance and discernment could become tools of mass deception. By the time the true nature of the Antichrist is revealed, the structures that should have been places of refuge and truth could be thoroughly compromised. This theory reminds believers of the critical importance of vigilance and discernment within their religious communities, underscoring the dangers of blindly following any leader, regardless of how charismatic or doctrinally sophisticated they may appear. Are you scared yet? You should be. We're living in a world where evil isn't just present, it's become the norm. While we speculate about the identity of the Antichrist, let's not forget that his spirit is already at work, twisting our reality and preying on our weaknesses. Don't wait for the main act when the opening act is already here, reshaping the world in its nightmarish image. Yet it's precisely in these challenging times that the potential for positive change and spiritual growth is at its greatest. While caution and vigilance are essential, they should not paralyze us into inaction. Instead, let the urgency of the situation serve as a catalyst for self-examination and transformative action. Now is the time to be most vigilant in our practices of kindness, understanding, and compassion. It is a moment for reaffirming core values, questioning our sources of information, and fostering genuine connections with those around us. As much as the dangers are real, so are the opportunities for creating a counter-narrative, one built on authenticity, love, and a deep-seated commitment to the truth. So, as we examine theories about the Antichrist, remember that our best defense is not just knowledge but spiritual discernment, rooted deeply in a genuine relationship with Jesus Christ. The times are perilous, but they're also a call to action for every believer. Are you up for the challenge?